All right, Shalawama, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shalawama, Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yusapa from Zion Law School. Welcome. This is the free astrotheology course. Our book is The Devil's Pulpit. The author is the Reverend Robert Taylor. And hopefully, we will complete the Redeemer lecture in this class and complete the Devil's Pulpit for the second time around. Okay, this will be the second time I taught the course. All right. So let's get back into it. Now, last class, the battery, the battery on my phone went out, and I was trying to find some information to show you the clear Jeremiah 8:8, where the scribes completely changed the meaning of let me find the scripture. The theme scripture, which is Job chapter 19:25. The scribes completely changed the meaning. Completely changed it. And so anyway, I went looking back in the chapter, and the author mentions this scripture quite a few times. So I found it only to realize that he wrote about it if I would have just kept reading. In other words, if I wouldn't have talked so much, if I would have just kept reading, we would have gotten to it because he talked about it again. But anyway, since I put the effort in, and I would also like to demonstrate to you scholars one technique to study more effectively. Okay? So first let me say this. When you study, when you learn, the most important thing to know is where to find information. You don't have to memorize anything. You just need to know where to find it. That's number one. And two, you need to know why. And the easiest way to know why is to identify the connections. The connections information has with information in the same category and other categories. Okay? So integrations and correlations. All right? Relationships, dependencies, mechanisms. Okay? So on page, I was going to share something with y'all, but I'll share it for another day. On page 259, this is one of the instances where the author goes into the meaning of Job chapter 19, verse 25. So take a look. So this is something I recommend that you do, scholars. So you see I have in the margin note here, and I wrote the page number. See, so when I go back and reference, I can see where information connects. Usually, most of the time I remember, but sometimes I don't. But it's a very good idea for you all to do that. Okay, so you can see the connections, see the relationships. That's true understanding. Okay, understanding is not memorizing. It's knowing the relationships, knowing what is and what's not. To know the story from front to back, from the back to the front, from the middle to the front, and from the middle to the back. You should know it, always. All right? And in that case, there's not a question that can be asked that you would not have already thought about and answered. Okay? Now, that's how I used to prepare for exams when I was a student. And it was very effective. And I studied, once I mastered that technique, I studied maybe 30% of what everybody else studied. They studied 100%. I'm studying. If they studied 100 minutes, I only studied 30, 27 to 30 minutes. But I always did better. So I'm sharing some very valuable techniques with y'all. Anyway, let's go to our text, and let's finish this up. All right. Let's finish it up. I don't know what I like better, starting something, pushing through, or completing it. I don't know which part I like best. But anyway, let me see, where are we? Give me a second, y'all. Here we are. So let me refresh your memory, scholars. So the Latin Vulgate translates those verses completely different than the English. The Greek Septuagint translates those verses completely different than the English. And remember, this lecture was given in 1831. Now, if you are new or if you missed classes, go back and watch all of the videos on the Redeemer. But if you're new, watch the whole library of classes and read the book. Okay, and read the book. I can assure you that watching the classes, this is class number 135. I can assure you that watching the classes will give you more understanding, more insight, and a better idea on how to use this information than if you were just to read the book by itself. I can assure you of that. Anyway, so 1831, Job 1925, the translation in English, completely different than the Latin Vulgate and the Greek Septuagint. All right, completely different. Y'all will remember that the English version is talking about, let me read it again since this is a new class. Quote, I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth, that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. So here we see a personification, right? And though after my skin worms destroyed this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God. Well, we see this is all kind of contradictions with the Christian doctrine, right? Because no flesh can see God and yet live. But then you see in the Hebrew scriptures where God had dinner with people, right? Moses saw God's back, but yet no flesh shall see God and live. So how do you resolve or rationalize these clear contradictions? You have to do what? Well, the Hebrew Israelites, I guess the Christians too will say precept it out. In other words, you got to create a doctrine. You must create a doctrine to explain that obvious contradiction, right? Now it continues. Whom shall, let's talk about the Redeemer, whom I shall see for myself. Now, read the verse, scholar, pay attention. And though after my skin worms destroyed this body. Well, where does he get eyes from? Where does he get eyes? The worms shall destroy his body, his flesh. That would include his organs and his eyes. So he's without eyes now. Whom I shall see for myself, no eyes. And mine eyes, that's the problem, shall behold, and not another. His eyes. his eyes have already been eaten by the decomposers, right? The worms, the insects, the microorganisms have already consumed, broken down all of his flesh, including his eyes, broken them down into waste products that are actually nutrition for vegetation. It's a irreversible process. Okay, some of his body, some of those molecules, enzymes, whatever, are going to be assimilated into the worm's body, into the insect's organism, to the microorganisms, organism or cell. Right, y'all? That's true. So you can't get him back. This is an irreversible reaction. He can never get the same eyes and never the same flesh again. Impossible. So that's the English version in 1831. And I'm refreshing y'all memory. And I probably shouldn't do this because it's taking time. And I want to get through this as fast as I can because I want to complete this. Hopefully we can complete it. All right. Now the Latin Vulgate translates it this way. Quote, I know that my Redeemer liveth, and in the last day I shall rise up out of the earth. Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to the English in 1831. That's not what it said. Pay attention to the details, scholars. Quote, the English, I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. So the Latin Vulgate says that his Redeemer, let me read it again. The Latin Vulgate translates it, quote, I know that my Redeemer liveth, and in the last day I had that backwards, see? And in the last day I shall rise up out of the earth. Yes. So the Latin Vulgate says, I shall rise up out of the earth, but the English says that he is the Redeemer, shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. So it's different. Latin Vulgate says that Job will rise up out of the earth, but the English says that his Redeemer shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. The Redeemer will stand on the earth in the English in 1831. In the Latin Vulgate, Job will rise up out of the earth. Y'all see this? In obvious. Don't say mistranslation, because that's not a mistranslation. That's a intentional, deceitful rendering of that sentence. Job in the Latin Vulgate, which is older, allegedly older, so they claim, right? It's older than this English translation in 1831. Job is rising out of his grave. But the English Bible has the Redeemer coming and standing on earth. Let's look at it. Let's continue. And again, I, that is Job, shall be invested with my skin. So Job is saying he's going to rise out of the earth, and then he's going to be given skin. So that means a new skin. I shall be invested with my skin, and in my flesh I shall see my God. Which is a contradiction, again, with the Christian doctrine. No man can see God and live. But the ancients have in the record that certain men have seen God and lived. Eating dinner with God, as I said earlier, saw God's back. Right? Is that right? Everybody see that? Actually, I saw a video. I probably shouldn't mention this, but I saw a video where there was a hybrid Christian scholar, and he talked about this very same topic, how the ancient quote unquote Israelites saw God. God was a fleshly, physical, or could take the form of a man. But Christians, under the influence of Greek philosophy, changed that to God is a spirit, and you cannot see God. Okay? And then they created a whole doctrine around that to resolve the contradiction in that Greek philosophy with the ancient Israelites' notion that you could see God, have dinner with God. All right, y'all? But let's continue. In the English it says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh I shall see God. Latin Vulgate. And again, I shall be invested with my skin, and in my flesh I shall see God. It didn't say anything about worms. It didn't say anything about worms. It says here in the English, my skin, worms, destroy. Not in the Latin Vulgate, in that sentence. Now let's keep going. So there's nothing in the Latin Vulgate about worms destroying his skin. So they just inserted that in there too. Now, let's continue with the Latin Vulgate. Though my veins be consumed within me. Though my veins be consumed within me. I don't even see that in the English. It continues, in the English it has here, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another. I didn't see. So let's continue to the Greek. Hold on. Okay, so, and for the words, though my veins shall be consumed within me, the Latin has it. Okay, so I made a mistake, y'all. In the English, it says, let me correct it. In the English, it says, though my veins be consumed within me. That would be done by what? The decomposer, worms and insects, and microorganisms. The Latin translates it, this hope is laid upon my bosom. The Latin doesn't say, though my veins be consumed within me. So the scribes added that too. In the Latin, it's translated, this hope is laid up in my bosom. And the citation is sinus. The Greek Septuagint translates it this way, for I know that he who shall liberate me is perpetually dwelling in the temple over the earth. Okay, so that is clearly the Redeemer, dwelling in the temple over the earth. Right? The temple over the earth. That's what? That's the cosmos, the starry heavens. Right? So I think I did. I think I went over this in the last class. But y'all remember the the equinoctial points: vernal or spring equinox, fall or autumn equinox. So all of the constellations and their deacons. Each constellation has 3 deacons. In other words, 3 constellations located in its neighborhood. So the summer months are those months that are ruled by the sun, beginning with the spring and ending in September, late September. So this is the royal ark. This is the kingdom of the heavens. The secrets of the kingdom of the heavens, right, y'all? The mysteries of the kingdom of the heavens. There are 7 months here. And then below this, these constellations here are earthy constellations. Below the equinoctial points are earthy constellations. Okay? So there are 5 months with their 3 deacons each. Clear? So, and below the equinoctial points, this is hell. Right? This is hell. Solstitial or summer solstice, June 21, 22, the sun in this position becomes Christ, right? The sun at the winter solstice, December 21, 22, the sun now is called the devil and Satan for the reasons we've discussed many, many times. It has nothing to do with religion. It's all about nature and natural phenomena. Clear? For I know that he who shall liberate me from death, is always dwelling in the temple over the earth, in the kingdom of the heavens. My skin, which pumps up these, shall rise again. That's completely different than the English. My skin, which pumps up these, shall rise again. I didn't hear or read anything about a worm, or a worm eating or destroying his skin. For these things are accomplished for me before the Lord, which thing I understand or represent in my own person. He understands it. It's within him. Nobody told him that. Which things my eye hath seen. So his eyes already saw it. That's how he knows. His eyes already saw it. That's how he knows. Maybe it was that inner eye, right? That inner knowing, that intuition, or the connection that we have with nature that gave him the information, and not another. For all things are perfected to me in my breast. All things have been what? Completed. He had been given the information, a download. I know I've been given downloads. Most of us have probably experienced receiving a download of information. And then there's a footnote with an asterisk. And the text is in Greek. Now let's go back to where we need to be for this part of the class. So the review is over. Let's move forward. Here we are. Let me see. So I hope everyone sees the obvious deceptive rendering. Let's just call it a lie. The obvious lie that the scribes have written in Job chapter 19, verse 25. Let's go back. I want to start on page 339, the last paragraph. Hence, in strict observation of the astronomical analogies, God, the SUN sun, in the constellation of Aries, in the constellation of Aries the ram, ask Job, J-O-B, or Job, J-O-V-E, y'all should remember, J-O-V-E is a tetragrammaton. This is Yahoo, Yahweh, Jehovah, all of that. So Job, according to grammar, the Greek grammar, J-O-B, Job, is the tetragrammaton. I don't think I need to go through that. And again, that's, y'all want to see how that's done? You can read it, or why that is rather. You can read it in the Devil's Pulpit by the Reverend Robert Taylor on page 338 and 339, or you can watch the class I did just before this video. I think it's number 134. The Redeemer 134. All right, it's worth watching. You should definitely watch it if you don't know why. Okay, it's not based on religion; it's based on linguistics. All right, now in strict observations of the astronomical analogies, God, that's capital G-O-D, y'all know that that's a hustle. If you don't know that that's a hustle, go back and watch all my classes. The S-U-N sun in the constellation of Aries the ram, the high ram, ask Job, or Job. In other words, he asked Job, he asked Jehovah, he asked Yahweh. Ask Job, or Yahuwah, or Yahoo, or Yahweh, the year. Huh? So how is God, G-O-D, asking Jehovah, asking Yahweh, asking Job, asking Job the year? Is he crazy? Is he talking to himself? Or is God someone different? Apollo, Zeus, Hercules, but they're all the same solar deity. So what's happening here? How do we explain this? Well, clearly, this is metaphorical. Let's continue. So in strict observation of the astronomical analogies, God the Sun, the S-U-N sun, in the constellation of Aries, Aries in modern astrology is the beginning of the natural year, the beginning of spring, approximately September 21, 22. Okay, so God asked Job, or Job, the year in his state of dejection. So Job was in a state of dejection. After the autumnal equinox, the fall equinox, so after the fall equinox, can you bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades, that's a constellation, or loose the bands of Orion? So after the fall equinox, can you bind the Pleiades? Can you bind the constellation Pleiades? Or loose the bands of the constellation called Orion? Can you bring forth the 12 signs in the season? Can you bring forth the 12 Zodiac signs, which are 12 constellations? Or can you guide Arcturus with his sons, which is another constellation? So here, according to Christian doctrine, to study the cosmos, to study the zodiac is wicked, evil, sinful. Devil worship. But yet and still we see God asking Job if he can do it. Now, why would he ask Job if he could do something that's a sin in his eyes? Something that's evil and wicked. Why would he pose that question on Job? Is he trying to get Job to self-snitch? Is he trying to get Job to self-snitch, y'all? Coming to Job when Job is down, emotionally down, his health is bad. So this God that y'all serving comes to Job at his worst, at his weakest moment, and try to get him to self-snitch. Because if he says, yes, I can do it, that means you've been studying the stars, you've been studying the zodiac, and you ain't supposed to do that. Right? Or is God schizophrenic and he's talking to himself? Because God is Job, the S-U-N sun is the Tetragrammaton, right? Is Yahweh, Yahuwah, Jehovah, is Isis, is Jesus, is Apollo, is Jupiter. It's all of the solar deities. So once you have this information, the secular and mythological history, the astronomy, astrology, and the etymology and philology, when you read this stuff, you can see what it literally means. And that if you take it as being real history, it makes absolutely no sense. Okay, you have to create, we have to do what we used to say when I was younger. You got to niggas-plain. You got to start niggas-plaining. You got to start creating doctrines, right? To make it make sense. Y'all see it? I hope everyone sees it. I hope I'm not the only one who sees it. All right, now let's continue. Were the names of these constellations, where the names of these constellations are precisely the same as they are on our celestial globe at this day. So Job is supposed to be how many thousands of years old? The book of Job. But yet in 1831, the names of those constellations are the same as they are, or as they were rather, in 1831. Y'all see that? So let me show y'all. So I have, this is supposed to be, I don't know if y'all can see it. This is supposed to be natural honey. 100%. I hope it is. I'm in a restaurant, you never know, right? So what I did to loosen it up, I put some water in it. Oh, no. Shoot. Am I? See. Can I have another spoon? Can you bring another one, please? Bring one more. I won't apologize. I had to take it back because I don't know if she might wipe it off and bring the same spoon back to me. But anyway, so I have black coffee, and this is a Vietnamese coffee bean. Okay, so I'm going to dump that in the coffee. Come on, thanks. So I dump it in the coffee, and you can see when you add the water, it gets it all out. And because it has ice, and of course, if you put honey in ice, it's not going to dissolve fully. So I'll do it like this. So now the honey is fully dissolved in the coffee, which they call cafe. Well, it's kind of cool, right? Cafe. If you want cafe with condensed milk, it's cafe sua. Cafe sua. And actually, I've learned some things about language since I've been in Vietnam that are very helpful and explains a lot of questions with the Ancient Ibaryath. Okay? Now, y'all might see that when I write the Book of the Law. If I get broad support for the Book of the Law, you will see it. It's amazing. So, cheers. That's delicious. I have to say, that is delicious. So I'm very happy. It has no aftertaste. None at all. Okay, now, let's get back into this, okay? The author continues. So those constellations have the same name in 1831 that they did in Job's day and also today. And the Pleiades, Arcturus, and Orion, though so manifestly none other than the names of the fixed stars, their fixed stars, are spoken of as much as if they were real personages. So in other words, those fixed stars are anthropomorphized or personified, right? As though they're people or deities, okay? And certainly they are quite as much so as Job, Job, and his three friends, Job and his three friends, or God, capital God, and the devil. Okay, so in other words, Job and his three friends are personifications, just like God and the devil are personifications. So God the Father, God the Son, S-O-N Son. This is the S-U-N Son, right? God the Father and God the Son, the S-O-N Son, the part of the Trinity. That's the S-U-N Son. And then, of course, the Holy Spirit is the springtime wind. Those springtime winds that are created, those holy gusts of winds that occur because of the sun's heat reflecting off of Earth's surface, going back up and mixing with cool air, which causes gusts of wind to blow, which is the Holy Gust, the Holy Ghost. The Holy Spirit, breath. Okay, so the natural phenomena of wind, the earth breathing. Okay, y'all see it? So the devil is the sun at the winter solstice. Right? The devil is the S-U-N sun at the winter solstice on December 21, 22. Okay? So this is obvious, right? Doesn't take a genius to figure this out. It's just obvious when you read it and you see the evidence and the facts. Next paragraph. Oh, wait. Who each sustain their respective parts in this beautiful astronomical drama. What's the drama? The drama is the sun traveling through the Maserati from the start of the year to the end of the year. Everybody see that? And when the sun enters into each zodiac sign, it fully takes on the personality, characteristics, and attributes of that zodiac sign. And hence there's the drama. right? And then, of course, their deacons, 3 constellations in the neighborhood of each zodiac sign. And the whole celestial heavens, they move together more precisely than a watch. Okay, so when some constellations are falling, others are rising. And it's like that forever, ever, and ever, ever, and ever, ever, and ever, ever. As long as you can keep saying that, and more. It's eternal. Okay? It's eternal. So this is the astronomical drama. Okay, now I understand why our ancestors wrote like this. Let me tell you why. And I wrote a book. When was it? Maybe 6 years ago, I wrote a book, Rapid Total Recall, Biochemistry Icons. And so what I did in that book, biochemical reactions, so each of the enzymes, etc., instead of illustrating them the way you see the enzymes and molecules traditionally represented in science textbook or biochemistry textbook, chemistry textbooks, well, I made them into icons, like icons that you would see, let's say, on your cell phone or on your laptop, your desktop. Made them into icons. And then showed how electrons pass, or minerals, the whole 9 yards. So everything, in other words, I personified. Well, I wouldn't say personified, but y'all get the point, because I didn't make them into people. I made them into icons that make them easy to remember. Okay, so it's not all abstract. I simplified it. The same way it used to be. If you wanted to use a computer, you have to learn coding and all this complex code. Well, they condensed that. They compacted it into an icon, which is what I did with biochemistry. So I understand why our ancestors anthropomorphized natural phenomena to simplify it and make it easy to remember. Okay? And then the dirty Moors, the Romans, followed by the humans, the Han-Umans, the hybrids. Of course, the Raphaim also had a part in that. Came in and attempted, and they've been very successful at, destroying this part of our ancestors' legacy. And of course, according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68, the curses, the punishments, the losses that we would take, right? The beat down, the smack down, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Because that's what happens when a people, when a nation goes off worshiping external gods. What does that mean? That means when you go against nature, you're going to get a slap down, a beat down. Okay? As a signal for you to change your behavior. Okay, so there is a feedback. So that's Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 through 68, the blessings and the curses. Okay, so when you break the Most High's commandments, when you live out of harmony with nature, and the absolute worst thing you can do is worship external gods. Why is that? Well, because you're God. You're thought made manifest from the land. You're the substance and subject matter of the law. But let's go back to the text, because I want to finish this book and move on. Hence, with that perfect astronomical science, Ain't say nothing about religion, nothing about doctrine, which had ascertained. Now this is where my phone cut off around here. With that perfect astronomical science, which had ascertained the motion of the precession of the equinoxes. In other words, it was discovered. Job said he discovered through observation, okay? Through observation and study, he discovered when the sun sun falls to 0 degrees. Y'all got that? So the celestial equator, which is a projection of Earth's equator, is at 0 degrees. So from the summer solstice, which is June 21, my fist is the sun. From June 21 to June 24, exactly at 12 midnight, the sun is in the same position. Okay? At exactly 12 midnight, the exact beginning of June 25, the sun begins falling until it falls down to 0 degrees. To 0 degrees. Now when the sun goes below 0 degrees, Christ has been crucified. The sun, the sun falls below the celestial, or let me not say fall, it crosses below the fall equinoctial point at 0 degrees. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember? So the exact moment that this happens, Job said he calculated it using science. Science, so in other words, observation, what? His eyes. Maybe he had equipment, who knows? But he calculated it. He calculated. Now let's continue. Hence, with that perfect astronomical science, which had ascertained the motion of the precession of the equinoxes. Let's say he had some equations, I don't know. Whatever the science was. Because we're used to mathematical equations, let's just say he had some mathematical equations. Or, better yet, let's say he was able to look in the sky. He was able to look in the sky and notice the relative positions of the constellations to each other. Okay, on a specific day. Y'all imagine how much time it would have taken him to do that. How patient of a man he must have been to watch the stars. But not only watch the stars, he could have been doing a million other things. He could have been out chasing women. He could have been out drinking with his buddies. He could have been at home working. He could have been playing with his heirs, visiting. He could have been doing a million other things. But he chose to spend his time observing nature. Why? Because he wanted to know. He wanted to know. Why? Clearly, that information was useful for him in his life. That's why. So that means the man, Job, was living in harmony with nature. Okay? And he was looking for ways to improve his rhythm with nature. Now let's continue. So he discovered the motion of the precession of the equinoxes. To the accuracy of determining that motion, now here's the motion, to be 50 and then 9 degrees, I guess that's what that is. and 3/4 of a third of a degree in a year. So that's what he discovered. An accuracy which our Herschels, Halleys, these are famous scientists during his day, and Sir Isaac Newton have never been able to do, have never been able to surpass, rather, or to dispute. Today they would say, or to debunk. The greatest astronomer, speaking in dramatic character of Jove, J-O-V-E, or Job, J-O-B. So remember, Jove is Yahoo, is Jehovah, is Yahweh, or whatever way you want to pronounce it. Okay? So let's do that again. The great astronomer, speaking in dramatic character of Jove and Job, or Job, the allegorical genius of the year, has these remarkable words in the 31st chapter. Quote, and this is what I wanted to get into. I have made a covenant with my eyes. Now remember, y'all, covenant, covenant, covenant. There are two covenants. This is the, hold on. This is the vernal or spring equinox. This is the covenant of work, covenant of grace. Okay, you need to work, cultivate. This is the column called Boaz. This is the covenant of grace, the autumn equinox, the fall equinox. Okay, this is the covenant of grace. This is Jachin. All right, covenant of labor, covenant of grace, spring, the time where you must work. What kind of work? Cultivate the land. Cultivate the land. Whatever a man soweth, that he shall also reap during the harvest. During the harvest. The harvest, the wheat and grain harvest is in August. And the wine harvest, or the grape harvest, rather, is in September. The last day to get sweet wine is September 29. After that, the grapes, whatever you get from them, will be sour, only good for making vinegar. So whatever a man soweth in the spring, whatever your cultivation activities are, you'll reap that. You'll reap that in the harvest in August and September. Y'all got it? Two covenants, the covenant of Boaz and the covenant of grace. Whatever a man sow, whatever you cultivate, that you shall also reap. And when you reap it, remember that just one. Jesus means justice. That just one will pay you your exact wages based upon whatever you sowed. That you shall also reap. That is what you shall get paid. Jesus is that just one. All right? Y'all got that? So, Job says, I have made a covenant with mine eyes. He's observing the cosmos. He's looking at the covenant of labor and work and the covenant of grace, the covenant of Boaz and the covenant of Jachin. Why then should I think upon a maid? Why then should I think upon a maid? Meaning, why should I pay attention or expect something. We're going to go to that in Virgo. So let's go to it. Now the author goes through it here in the paragraphs below, but let's go back to it. What page was I on? Is it 250, y'all? I hope y'all enjoy this as much as I do. Page 259. All right, so I'm going to start at the paragraph, at the third paragraph, okay? Wait. No, I'm going to start on page 258. The last paragraph at the bottom, okay, y'all? Y'all be patient with me. Be patient, okay? Sit back and you're gonna learn something. Or you're gonna get a good review, all right? So about last paragraph, page 258. But I must tell you, sirs, the secret of the Lord, capital L, lowercase o-r-d. But I must tell you, sirs, the secret of the Lord is with them that fear him. And he will show them his covenant. So the Lord is going to show those who fear him his covenant. What covenant? He got two. The covenant of labor, the time you should cultivate, the covenant of Boaz, and then the covenant of grace. The harvest when Mama Earth gives you her geometrical bounty that you did nothing for. All you did was what? You came from thought, the first Hermetic law, right? The produce or the mechanism of mind is thought. So you came from thought and manifested from the soil, Genesis chapter 27. That's all you did. Which is why you're the substance and subject matter of the law. Okay? The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him, and he will show them his covenant. Now y'all, fearing him is not some external deity. That's not what fearing him means. If you have been paying attention to this author and my commentary, I won't tell you, but I'll ask you, who is God? Who is God? Each one of us, I'm talking about non-hybrids, we are thought made manifest from the soil. Is it fear, like trembling in fear, don't hurt me? Is it that kind of fear? Or is it, y'all go look up fear in your Hebrew lexicon. He will show him his covenant. Right? Respect. Honor. The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him and put their trust in their mercy. That do I, so says the author. And that is what none of your preachers, none of your priestcraft of the gospel or any other religion, nor any of your masons below the rank of royal ark know anything of. So unless you've achieved the rank of royal ark or higher, you don't know anything about this. You don't know anything about the astrotheology. You're still steeped in religious doctrine. So what is this fear? What does it literally mean? And who is God? Page 259. I can say with holy Job, holy Sunny. I can say with holy Job, quote, I have made, this is the author speaking, I have made a covenant with mine eye. Why then should I look upon a maid? Job 31. 'Tis Arabic, 'tis Shem, Hemferesh, 'tis abracadabra to you. And what the author is saying, that verse right there is so coded that it looks like nonsense. I have made a covenant with my eye. How are you going to make a contract with your eye? Why then should I look upon a maid? Well, wait a minute. What's better to look at than a woman? I don't care how beautiful your house is, how beautiful the car is, how beautiful the building is. You tell me one thing in this world that's more beautiful, more pleasant and pleasurable to look at than a woman. There is nothing. Unless you're So y'all see that? So this verse makes absolutely no sense. Okay, that's what the author is saying. Go ask any preacher of the gospel to give you the meaning of it. Not one in all this priest-ridden and priest-insulted metropolis or city would ye find one who was not ignorant of the meaning of Job 31 as a horse. And of course a horse don't know nothing about nothing in the Bible, right? Go tell your quote-unquote thrice pissant, illustrious, respectable, and worshipful Adoniram. So I think he's talking about people in masonry. That I can tell the meaning of. So the author is telling you, he can tell you the meaning of this, that Job 31 is not nonsense. It is encoded text. And the author knows the code. In other words, the author can crack the code, and he's going to crack the code for us. That's the whole point of doing this. Now let's continue. And if he can tell it himself, he will admit that he who can do so has discovered the great secret of the royal ark. Y'all got that? Discovered the great secret of the royal ark. He's talking about the royal ark, literally. Those 7 months, spring to the end of September. And the constellations, the kingdom of the heavens. That's what he's talking about. So in masonry, you need to at least have achieved the degree of royal ark to get this information, okay? Now let's continue. Shall I discover to you, shall I tell you, shall I discover to you something of this glorious secret? Or will ye still go to church and chapels and be forever the dolts and dunces, the idiots, y'all, right? The indifferent idiots that your priest would have you to be, that your priest wants you to be. So the author is telling you, I can tell you exactly what this means. But do you still want to be a fool? Keep going to the churches. Keep believing in these fairy tale doctrines. And keep letting yourself, your heirs, your kinfolk, your nation, your empire be abused and made a complete fool out of, at will, mocked, at will. See, which one, scholar, do you want? Which one do you want? Do you want to know the glorious secret? Do you want to follow the Most High's commands? Harmonize your life with nature? Be tuned into nature, vibrate with nature, and then nature itself will provide for you and take care of you. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 through 14, the blessings. Or do you want the curses? You want to continue in the curses. Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. It's your choice. It's your choice. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Y'all go read Deuteronomy chapter 30. You only need to read about the first 16 verses and study them well. Look then upon the vault bosom of the visible heavens. That real royal ark, in which reigns the glorious King of Day. Now we all should know who the King of Day is, right? Observe the apparent passage of the sun and sun round the earth, which is the real passage of the earth round the sun. Okay, he's talking about the ecliptic and Earth's orbit. Okay? Twice a year, you will perceive the sun shines exactly upon the line which you might imagine to divide our globe into two equal parts. What is he talking about? Earth's equator. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. That's what he's talking about. So the Earth's equator, let me do it this way. Earth's equator projected out. This is the celestial equator, 0 degrees, right? So, y'all see the angle between both of my arms? This is the line of the ecliptic. This is imagine my elbow is the vernal equinox. So this angle, according to most modern astrologists, is 23.5 degrees, this angle, okay? 23.5 degrees. I've seen 22 point something degree also, okay? This is one equinoctial point, the vernal or spring equinoctial point. This is the second equinoctial point, the fall equinoctial point. This is September 21, 22. This is the ecliptic. This angle is 23.5 degrees. I've seen 23.5 to 22 point something, okay, in modern astrology. Y'all see that? So these are the two equinoctial points, all right? The vernal equinox, the sun is in the vernal equinox on March 21, 22. Okay? This is what the author is talking about. So twice a year. Now you must remember that at 0 degrees, twice a year, the sun will be at a 90-degree angle, which is like this. At a 90-degree angle over the celestial equator. You know it's 90 degrees by the angle. Y'all see that? So there's a tool called a ganometer. Is it a ganometer? I think it's called a ganometer, if my memory serves me correctly, where you can measure this angle, okay, at 12 in the afternoon, because 12 in the afternoon is when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. So this is when Christ is teaching at the temple, when he was 12 years old. 12 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is at a 90-degree angle. Y'all see that? So the sun rays are coming down and there's no shadow because the sun is coming down at a 90-degree angle. This is between 0 degrees. 0 degrees and 23.5 degrees north, which is the Tropic of Cancer, and then 23.5 degrees south, which is the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so twice a year the sun is at a 90-degree angle. Once a year, the sun is at a 90-degree angle at 23.5 degrees north, which is the Tropic of Cancer, and 23.5 degrees south, which is the Tropic of Capricorn. All right? So these times of the year is very important to know. Right? Very important to know. Why? Well, you should know when the rains are coming, when the floods are coming. You should know how to prepare, what to plant, when to plant, the conditions of the soil, when to party, when to sleep, right? In other words, you need to know this to manage your life. Everybody see that? Now let's continue. Let's continue. So twice a year, you will perceive the sun shines exactly upon the line which you might imagine to divide our globe into two equal parts. That's Earth's equator, 0 degrees. And in consequence, or because of his shining, thus exactly over the middle, see the mist, middle means mist. Joshua made the sun stand still in the mist of the sky. If y'all watch the video that I did on, I just told you a lot. If you can put 2 and 2 together, I just told you a whole lot, even though it may not sound like anything. If you watch the video that I did, the title is "The Location of the Promised Land According to Moses," or something like that. There's a big... Y'all watch that video I did. Let me leave it at that. And in consequence of the sun, the sun, sun shining, thus exactly over the middle, he is the sun. He gives us an equal length of day and night. So that's 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. To all inhabitants of the earth. Let me say this, y'all. If you live above 23.5 degrees north, you'll always see the sun at an angle. It will never be directly over your head. And the same is true if you live below 23.5 degrees south. You'll never see the sun directly over your head. Put 2 and 2 together. Put 2 and 2 together. Or just watch the video. All right, y'all? But what's the point? 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. That is concrete. You see it with your eyes. You can feel it with your skin. Right? You can see the plants, the next generation sprouting up. You can see them mature. Right? You have sensory rich stimulation. All of the senses are talking to you. It's concrete. 12 hours of day, 12 hours of night. It is concrete. Abstractly, that is justice. That is equity. So our people's paradigm is concrete. That only makes sense, right? Why does it make sense? Because we are a sun people. We are a natural people. We're sprung from the soil. So clearly our paradigm is going to be concrete. Right? It's going to be concrete. And those of you who've taken my class, you know that we have the concrete. By the way, if you want to know more about that, subscribe to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. That's in the description area of this video. If y'all want to know more about that. Okay, but the hybrids have taken on an abstract paradigm. It's where they get words like justice and righteousness. Okay, equity. All right? Now this is a fact, it's not a guess. I didn't make it up. All right? This he does, he is the SUN sun. Once in coming upwards, so here's the vernal equinox. This is the winter solstice here, December 21, 22. The sun is moving only horizontally. And then at 12 o'clock midnight on December 24th, which is the very beginning of December 25, the sun shifts direction for the first time since the summer solstice at June 21. Remember, June 25. Since June 25, the sun has been falling or moving southerly, southward. Now, at the very beginning of December 25, the sun shifts direction and starts to spring northward until it gets to the vernal or spring equinox, right? This is what the author is talking about. Let me find the place again. Hold on, y'all. Okay. So this he or the sun does once in coming upwards, which is the spring quarter, and once again in coming down. Now, I've already described that. Coming down means falling. From the summer solstice, June 25, the sun will now shift directions from springing northward, springing up, to falling southward, southerly. Okay, hence that's why we call the fall the fall. All right? In coming down and falling down from the sun's highest point, the highest point is the summer solstice, where the SUN sun is called the Christ. Okay, the summer solstice begins on June 21, June 22. In falling down from his highest point, or the great or royal arc. Y'all got that? Towards winter. Okay, winter is beginning in October, when it is autumn. Okay, so the sun gets crucified around, is it, I've seen dates from September 21, 22, as late as September, well, let's just keep it September 21, 22. Y'all can check the dates, but they usually change, okay? I try to keep it consistent with what the author says here, but I think I've seen, well, let's let it go. You get the point. Let's keep it going. All right. So it's falling towards winter. When it's autumn equinox, okay? These 2 points, the vernal, spring equinox, the autumn or fall equinox, that's what he's talking about. These 2 points, the covenant of Boaz and the covenant of Boaz and the covenant of Jachin. These 2 points, then, at which the SUN sun comes to the line, the celestial equator, 0 degrees, of the equator take place, one in spring, March 21, 22, or thereabout, and the other in autumn, September 21, 22, or thereabout, and are therefore called respectively, quote unquote, covenant of works. That is, or which means, When men are called on to labor in the cultivation of the earth, and quote, the covenant of grace, the covenant of fruition or enjoyment. So the covenant of grace is the covenant of fruition, is the covenant of enjoyment, and the covenant of works is the covenant of labor, the covenant of cultivation, okay? Boaz and Jachin, or Jachin, under which they are to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Okay, now I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to disagree with that. And here's why. Because initially, we didn't have to do any labor. Mother Earth would just give us her bounty. Yes, when we live rhythmically with nature, we didn't have to do any work. Y'all think about this. Think about it. Industrial farming is harmful. It depletes the soil of its minerals. So that's the one. Right? That's the one. And then two, when you look at Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, those are what? Gifts. Y'all go read Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 through 14. Read Deuteronomy chapter 30. No, we wasn't out there laboring in the sun and all of that stuff. No. This is something new, y'all. This is a punishment. This is a punishment. All right? It is a punishment. And this would explain why our ancestors wanted to genetically engineer a creature that had the strength of an animal, but the ability to verbally communicate and follow instructions, so that they could have that hybrid during the hard labor. Y'all see that? So trying to skirt the discipline that nature had put us under. So they decided to create a hybrid, to be out there with the bulls plowing the fields. Or maybe they got greedy. Maybe it's not that at all. Maybe they got greedy and they started taking other people's land and they wanted to increase their production. Maybe they were moving toward industrial farming. Y'all see what I'm saying? And they wanted a creature that could do the work. And they used the science in a very greedy and self-destructive way that we all pay for now. Y'all follow me? Or any variation of that. Y'all got it? But let's continue. Next paragraph. So the covenant, y'all, covenant means the coming together. Let's read it. Bottom of page 259. The coming together in the spring quarter took place when the sun sun is seen to be in the group of stars called the Lamb, hence the Lamb of God, Aries. And in autumn, when he appears, he is the sun. When the sun sun appears to be in the scales of justice, right? The scales of justice. Christ or Jesus is that just one. Why? Because whatever you sow, that you shall also reap. Whatever you cultivated, whatever your labor was in springtime, you're going to reap that in the harvest. Okay, that's what you're going to get. And that's going to be paid to you like clockwork. You ain't going to be cheated. Hence, Jesus is that just one. And that's going to happen in the scales of justice, which is Libra. Or balance of September. Okay, scales of justice, Libra, the balance, the scales, okay? And having passed through the Virgin, here's the point. And the sun, the SUN sun, having passed through the constellation called Virgo, who is the Virgin, or maid of August. Okay, y'all got that? So the sun already passed through the constellation Virgo, who is the maid or Virgin of August, and entered into the scales of justice, or the balanced scales, which is in September. Okay, late September. Y'all see it? And as the covenant of grace does not take place when the SUN sun is in the group of stars, which are called the Virgin or Virgo, nor because it, the SUN sun, reaches the further end of the scales of righteousness. This is Libra, which does on Michaelmas Day. I think Michaelmas Day is September 29. The Freemason Job said, y'all hear that? The Freemason Job. Now remember, Job is Jove, Jove. Jove is the Tetragrammaton, YHWH, who is Yahoo, who is Jehovah. Yahoo is Jehovah, who is Yahweh. The Freemason Job, the Freemason Jehovah, says, quote, for that matter, the Freemason Jesus, who is Isis, who is Apollo, etc. The Freemason Job says, quote unquote, I have made a covenant with mine eyes. Meaning, here's what it means. I have, by astronomical observation, that means he sat there and he watched the starry heavens, how they move in relation to each other. He watched year after year after year after year. He developed a memory. And let me rephrase. He used a skill called pattern recognition. He sat there year in, year out, looking for patterns. And once he saw the patterns, he was able to put two and two together. Notice what he says. I have, by astronomical observation, ascertained the point of the covenant. He didn't say he prayed or somebody whispered in his ear. I have, by astronomical observation, ascertained or discovered the point of the covenant. What does it mean? The coming together? The coming together of the celestial, of Earth's equator and the line of the ecliptic. Y'all see that? That's what he's talking about. The coming together of these two lines. Clear? Where do they come together? They come together at 0 degrees. Above 0 degrees, we're getting into what? I should do it this way. Autumn equinox, vernal equinox, spring equinox. So the coming together is at 0 degrees. When it goes above, well, the sun has already done what? Passed over the celestial equator. In the fall, the sun is falling. They come together at 0 degrees. When it goes below 0 degrees, Christ has already been crucified. Y'all see it? See, this stuff is easy. When you do it, it's easy. I hope I'm doing a good job explaining this so you can see this stuff. So I have ascertained it in Libra, the balance of September. In other words, Job is saying, based upon my observation, based upon me watching the starry heaven, looking for patterns, searching for patterns, remembering the patterns, putting two and two together, I have determined by use of my analytical or my rational mind, I've been able to determine that the sun is at 0 degrees in Libra, in the zodiac sign Libra, the balance of September. So it's not in August, which you might have thought, because the corn harvest and the wheat harvest is in August. So you might have thought that. No, it's not at 0 degrees yet. It doesn't happen until September when the sun is in Libra. Therefore, why should I look at a woman? Why should I look at a woman? Why should I look for the sun to be at 0 degrees when it's in Virgo? I already know it's at 0 degrees when it's in Libra. Now that explains completely Job 31. So let's do it again. And as the covenant of grace does not take place when the sun sun is in the group of stars, which are called Virgo, nor before it reaches the further end of the scales, which it does on Michaelmas Day, September 29. Okay, so it happens before then. The Freemason Job says, quote unquote, I have made the covenant with my eyes. I have made the covenant with my eyes, end quote. Meaning, I have by astronomical observation ascertained the point of the covenant. I have ascertained, and it is in Libra, the balance of September. Why then should I look for it in the Virgin of August? And these two covenants are the two Masonic columns, Jachin and Boaz. The one signifying science, the other strength. In allegorical language, here's what it is in allegorical language. Christ, the wisdom of God, and Jesus, the power of God. So the one signifying wisdom of God, and Jesus, let me repeat that. The one signifying science, the other column signifying strength. In allegorical language, Christ is the wisdom of God, and Jesus is the power of God. Thus, faith is the genius of spring. Okay, and here's why. Let me let the author speak so we can get through it. I'm not going to comment. Thus, faith is the genius of spring. Hope is the genius of summer, and charity is the genius of autumn or fall. Faith of spring, because faith and works must always come together. Y'all got that? Faith is spring because faith and works must always come together. Hope of summer, because from the point the sun looks vertically downward, all right, that's at 90 degrees at the summer solstice, June 21, 22. Because from the point that the sun looks vertically down upon the seeds that you planted in the spring, and you've been cultivating the land, doing everything right, okay? which have been committed in faith to the fertilizing womb of the earth. Okay, y'all? Y'all see that? You did all of that work based upon your faith. Okay? Clear? Charity of autumn, because the S-U-N sun empties his cornucopia into our desiring lap. Mama Earth gives you a geometrical abundance compared to what you planted. Right? She gives you an abundance during the harvest. So that's charity, right? That's giving you something extra. Not just exponentially extra, geometrically extra. Faith is the eastern pillar. Charity is the western pillar. And hope, the keystone of this royal ark. Hope, the keystone of this royal ark. Christ is the end of the law to them that believe, quote unquote. Christ is the end of the law to them that believe. That is, or which means, the Lamb of God in spring. But Jesus is the other end of the law. That is, or which means, quote, unquote, that just one. Jesus is that just one. Jesus means righteousness. Y'all see it? Justice. Jesus means justice. That just one. In the scales of autumn. Jesus, on the other hand, let me repeat that. But Jesus is the other end of the law. That is, or which means, that just one. So here's one end of the law, the summer or vernal equinox. Well, here's the other end of the law, the fall or autumn equinox. So in the autumn equinox, Jesus is that just one. Okay, that just one, Jesus is a code word for justice. Y'all see it? Now let's continue. So Jesus is that just one in the scales of autumn, when in the rich and luxurious justice of the grape, this is the grape harvest, right? In September, he gives us his blood to drink. Uh-oh. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Jesus gives us his blood to drink, which is what? The blood of the grape, not the blood of a bull or of a lamb. In fact, these stories about animal sacrifices in the Old Testament, or I say in the book of the law, these have more to do with sacrifices regarding your character, going from lower self to higher self. That transmutation, that alchemy that you must do. That's that sacrifice. That's astrological, Aries and Taurus. Okay? And it is this blood and this alone which, not reaching its full ripeness before the autumn equinox, is called, listen y'all, the blood of the covenant. Y'all hear that? Let me write this. Hold on. I'm going to take a note of this. Everybody see that? So I'm going to put, let me check my battery life. I done went way off topic. So I still got time, hold on. But the thing that I like so much about this, y'all, well, one is fun, right? One is fun. And then two, if you have a sense of humor, you can laugh at yourself for once being duped. You know, for being duped in religion. It takes the sting out of it. Right? It takes the sting out of being duped. You can laugh at it. At least, you know, that's the way I feel about it. All right, y'all. So the fully ripe grape, September 28th or 29, I think. I got to get the exact date. It's in here. It's just not coming to mind right now. All right. So that's the blood of the covenant. So this is the blood that Moses sprinkled on the people, according to the story, was not animal blood. It was what? Now, y'all should remember, everything in the year is done for the harvest. Okay? In other words, you can liken it to the sexual climax. Everything you do in the whole dating process, whatever, is for that, right? That's the climax. And the climax is the grape harvest. Corn and wheat or grains, that's August. Right? That's August. September, I think it's September 20, 28, 29. That's the last day to get sweet grapes. That's when the sun, is it September 21, 22? Somewhere thereabout. That's when the sun is at 0 degrees. So that's the climactic point. All right, y'all got it? So that's the blood of the covenant. All right? So if you corrupt the blood of the covenant, let's condense that. You get corruption of the blood. Y'all see that? So all of this goes back into nature and into law and into law and into law. And so we see hints of that, indications of that, signals, right? Judeo-Christian justice system. That's where the concept comes from. And then the curses, right? If you corrupt the blood of the covenant or the corruption of the blood, remember Moses did what? He sprinkled the blood or the blood of the grape upon the people to what? To memorialize that they were in, or we are, our ancestors include, we are they, are duty bound by nature to follow natural law. Okay? So as long as you are acting in harmony with the trust, with the instructions, right? Exodus chapter 20, Deuteronomy 28, etc. As long as you're following those rules, you get the inheritance. But if you don't, it gets taken away from you. You don't get it. Until you what? Until you start following those instructions, which is, well, I think I'm being redundant. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. So let me move on. And the vintners, these are winemakers, or those who tread upon the grapes to press their juice out, do every year trample under foot the S-O-N, Son of God. That is, or which means, of God, G-O-D, capital G-O-D, the true vine, or Bacchus. Bacchus is a deity. Being really the offspring gift, right? That's the blessings, right? The Most High, the Most High literally kneeling down, handing you a gift. Those of you who have gone through my classes, you know that that's what the blessings are, literally. Or S-O-N, son of the S-U-N, son in the constellation of Gab, G-A-B, which is March. So we're talking about Aries. All right? But they never account the blood of the covenant with which they are sanctified. That is, sunnified, sanctified, sunnified. If I may coin that word, I like the word sunnified. Sunnified. To have sunshine put in them. Okay, y'all, in science, what is this talking about? The food chain. Yeah, this is the food chain in science. Okay, so vegetation gets energy from the sun, from which they use in combination with water that they absorb from the soil, and they undergo photosynthesis. And they make their own stuff, make their own food. And then you have the other life forms that eat the vegetation. And then other life forms, and so now when they eat the vegetation, they get the energy that was stored, the sun's energy that was stored in the vegetation. That energy transfers into their organism, their body. And then something will come along and eat them. And then that energy from the sun that they have in their body, that they also got from the sun, but also from the plant, transfers into that animal's or organism's body. Y'all got it? And it goes on and on and on. So the grape, having been exposed to the sun, is absorbing that radiant energy of the sun. And the longer it stays in the sun, the more sweet, the more sunnified it is, the more of the sun's energy it has locked inside, stored inside of it. Like a battery, if you look at it that way, right? It's getting charged by the sun. Okay, y'all? To have sunshine put into them, that's the grapes. To have sunshine put into them, an unholy, that is, an unsunny thing. He's talking about these gospel guys. They know that that's wine, or sweet grape juice, or fermented wine, right? They know that it is the finest drink in the world, absolutely. And that they owe it entirely to the S-U-N, son, but they don't want you to know that. The priestcraft doesn't want you to know this. Whose blood, in so striking a metaphor, it really is. That's right, y'all. That's right. And thus it is in reference to the scales of justice that the Grand Master in the epistle to the Hebrews or the letter to the Freemasons, y'all know that's what it is. It is a letter to high-level Freemasons. These Freemasons, they are at or above the degree of the Royal Ark. It's not for those who haven't been told the secret that the Gospels and the Old Testament is full of astrotheology. And actually, the Gospels are fully astrotheology. Okay? So he continues, or Freemasons of the line of the Passover, y'all remember that? The sun is springing north, and then it passes over the celestial equator. Where are we? Okay, so the Freemasons of the line of the Passover, or the plummet, plays off his riddles about, quote unquote, we know him that hath said, vengeance belongs unto me. Vengeance, y'all, literally is winemaking. It is a winemaking term. It's a winemaking term. It's a winemaking term. But the doctrine tells you that it's what? Revenge. Okay? We know him that have said, vengeance belongs unto me, and the Lord, that is the S-U-N Son. So the Lord is the S-U-N Son, shall judge his people. Y'all see how they totally misrepresent that verse? Totally misrepresent it? It's talking about nature. It's not talking about some sky daddy or some Iesus, some Jesus coming cracking the clouds with his son and he's going to start slaughtering people. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the winemaking or vintage process. As I know all about it too, quote unquote, the day of vengeance, that is literally of vine gents, meaning nothing else than the day of working the vine, winemaking. Let me repeat that, y'all. So those of you who have been scared to death about this day of vengeance, the coming day of the Lord, this apocalyptic, scary stuff you've been taught in Christianity. Let me read it again. Quote unquote, the day of vengeance, that is, or which means literally, of vine gents, V-I-N-E, G-E-N-C-E, vine as in grapevine, meaning nothing else. In other words, the day of vengeance means the day of working the vine. Winemaking. This means the day of making wine. It is allegorical language of the S-U-N Son in the scale of September. And all the scope of this affair is nothing more than a warning on the part of the master of the vintage. So the owner of the company, the owner of the wine-making company is telling you, is warning you, hey, don't be up there drinking wine while you're pressing, don't be up there drinking the product. Don't get drunk, because if you fall off into that vat, it may very well cost you your life. Okay, you may not go home. It is the allegorical language of the S-U-N Son in the scales of September. And all the scope, meaning its scope. Okay, and all the scope means this. This has to do with this and this only. Nothing outside of this. Here's what the scope of it is. And all the scope of this affair is nothing more than a warning on the part of the master of the vintage, on the part of the boss, the owner of the winemaking outfit, or today we say company, to those who were employed in trampling under the foot of the Son, S-O-N, Son of God. Those who are employed, their job is to crush the grapes. They're stepping on the grapes, to step on them, get the juice out. He warned them to remember that the blood of the covenant, the blood of the grape, was very intoxicating. And if they should get so drunk with it as to fall into the vat, as to fall into the wine vat, it would be a very dangerous thing. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of that fermenting God. That is, into the wine vat. You get drunk and you fall into that wine vat, it might be over for you. You might lose your life. So remember, this wine is full of the sun's energy. It's very intoxicating. You will get drunk. Don't be up there drinking. Don't be up there drinking while you're working. All right? While you're what? While you are trampling under the foot the S-O-N, Son of God, while you're stepping on those grapes to squeeze the juice out. All right? Don't be up there drinking. That's the scope of the day of vengeance. And vengeance is mine. Yeah, if you're up there drinking, you might fall into that wine vat. It'll cost you your life. So I'm warning you. Okay, I'm warning you. I don't want your heirs. I don't want to see them crying or suffer because their daddy is gone. I don't see a woman crying, not knowing what to do, or suffer because you're gone, no more income, right? Nobody to support her. I don't want to see that, so I'm warning you. Don't be out there drinking that intoxicating wine while you're working. Wait till you get home. Drink at home. Ain't that what our parents always taught us, y'all? You're going to drink at home? All right? It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of that wine fermenting God. Which means it's a fearful thing to fall into that wine vat. I think I beat this thing with it's a dead horse now, right? I can stop. All right? So, let me see. This is actually a good chapter. But I'm going to stop here. All right, y'all. So let's go back to where we were supposed to begin. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let me see if I got battery life. I'm at 35%. Let's see. I think I don't have to do any more explaining. I think I can get through this fairly quickly. Okay, so let's go back to page 340. And I'll just go through it. Okay? So page 340, we're going to begin a little bit more than halfway up. So let's continue. Well, actually at the paragraph below where we stopped, if you remember. Okay, than which for any sense that our clergy could ever put upon it, more idiot nonsense never echoed within the walls of a madhouse. For what should hinder a man from thinking of a maid? Right, women are the most beautiful. What else? What else could you want? Right? What? Something wrong with you if you don't want to look at beautiful women. I think most men would agree. I mean, I even see women looking at other women, and they'll say, well, they're just interested in her whole persona, right? Even women look at women. Or what would the maids think of us if we never thought of them? What would a woman think of you if you never thought of them? You're not even looking. They probably think you're gay. Or why did God give a man eyes at all? Ain't that the truth? If the bargain is to be that there should be any harm in using your eyes to look upon the loveliest thing that the eyes ever did see. Now, I'm 1,000% on that. But look at the beautiful result of the astronomical enucleation. The fruits of the earth are to be patiently waited for. In other words, you are to wait patiently for the harvest. It's coming. You ain't got to worry about that. Coming like clockwork. Till the season of their maturity. We just went over that. That is, or which means, of the coming of the sun sun in his path in the ecliptic to the line of the equator. That is the celestial equator, which is 0 degrees. The covenant takes place not in Virgo. Virgo, there's the corn and wheat harvest, but that's not when the covenant takes place. The covenant takes place in Libra. Not in August, which is the Virgin, which is Virgo. But the covenant takes place in Libra, the scales, the balanced scales rather. Remember the covenant? When the two lines come together, that means covenant. The two lines come together, 0 degrees. Which is the balance of September. Hence the astronomical accuracy of the, what is this word? Hold on. Hence the astronomical accuracy of the apple platinum, quote unquote, I have made a covenant with mine eyes. That is, I have observed the place of the autumnal equinox. By astronomical observation, I have ascertained that it takes place in the balance of September. That's Libra. Why then should I look, or why then should I think of finding it in the Virgin of August? And now, sirs, bring our science to the text. Bring the astrological science to the text. And it is no longer obscure. In other words, it's no longer looking on the surface like nonsense. We now see that it is encoded text. That the declining year, let me start again. And now, sirs, bring our science to the text. And it is no longer obscure that the declining year should say to the constellations whose ascendancy, who's moving northward, whose ascendancy marks the autumnal period. So when autumn is coming, the sun is falling, but some constellations are ascending. So the sun is descending, but there are some constellations that are ascending. And we're talking about these ascending constellations. Quote, why should you persecute me? End quote. That is, why should you come after me? Let me say it again. Quote, unquote. Why should you persecute me? That is, come after me. Why should you come after me? As in first and second. Not as in I'm chasing you and I'm going to get you. Why should you come after me, quote unquote, as God? That is, or which means, as God persecutes or drives along the whole glorious company of the apostles. The apostles are the constellations. 12 apostles, 12 constellations that are zodiac signs. Quote, unquote, and are not satisfied with my flesh. That what flesh, y'all? Flesh of the grapes. The flesh of the fruit. That is, with having enjoyed the animal food which the year supplies in spring. Okay? So by the time you get to late winter, maybe you don't have enough, or you done ran out of canned veggies, canned fruits. Okay? Or maybe you got it frozen and you ran out. Now it's springtime. Or you're in late winter. Okay, now what are you going to eat? Well, you're going to be eating what? Maybe fish? Other animals? Y'all see it? So let's continue. Quote unquote. And are not satisfied with my flesh, that is, with having enjoyed the animal food which the year supplies in spring. Quote. But are thirsting for my blood, end quote. That is, which means the rich juice of the grape, which the year gives in autumn. All right, y'all? Now remember, those people who didn't cultivate, right, that just one is going to give them exactly what, going to give them their exact wages. So in October, November, or the winter months, they might have to resort to hunting just to be able to eat or steal it. Right? And then in January, February, maybe they're, if the rivers, lakes, and or the sea, wherever they're at, maybe they have to fish there. Okay, y'all? This is what the author is referring to. So this is a natural cycle of life. He continues. Okay, then have we in most accurate analogy the clear and beneficial language of the year. Y'all got that? After having shed his blood in autumn, consoling himself with the assurance that the sun sun, which every year redeems. The name of this lecture is The Redeemer. So let me say it again. Then have we the most accurate analogy, the clear and beneficial language of the year. The clear and beneficial language of the year. After having shed his blood in autumn, consoling himself with the assurance that the sun, which every year redeems, or brings the year round again. Natural year starts in Aries, March 21, 22, goes through each of the other 11 zodiac signs, and the year ends at 12, zodiac sign 12, at the end of 12, which marks the beginning of the first zodiac sign of the year according to modern astrologers, which is Aries. All right? So this is the redemption, the Redeemer. All right? So that the sun, which every year redeems or brings the year round again, still liveth. In other words, this Maserat, the sun traveling through the Maserat, still lives. It is eternal. And, quote unquote, in my flesh, says he that is, or which means the flesh of the mutton, the flesh of the goat, and beef, the flesh of the goat, the flesh of the bull, of March and April. which comes immediately in succession after the fish of February. Quote unquote, shall I see God? All right? So I'm going to eat fish in February. I'm going to eat goat or mutton in March. And then in April, I'm going to eat beef. Until what? Until the harvest comes back around. And I can't wait until September so I can get some more wine. That's the essence of what the author is writing here. This, my friend, scholars, this is the clear and beneficial language of the year that the author refers to. Next paragraph. Thus, according to the Latin text, quote unquote, I know that my Redeemer liveth, and at the last day I shall rise up out of the earth, and again I shall be invested with my skin, end quote. And I'm not going to comment at all. I'm just going to read this, okay, y'all? Okay, I shall be invested with my skin, end quote. The last day, or the latter day, is the last day of the old, but the first day of the new year. When the year was reckoned, when the year was believed to begin, or when the year was accounted to begin, from the commencement of spring quarter. In other words, when the year began on March 21, 22, which is when the sun is at 0 degrees, which is when the line of the ecliptic comes together with the celestial equator, which is a projection of Earth's equator. March 21, 22. That's the end of the last year and the beginning of the new year. The covenant of labor, the covenant of work. Boaz, the covenant of Boaz, or the column of Boaz. Y'all got it? Everybody see the relationships? He continues. And then it is that the S-U-N sun appears in the mutton, in the ram of March. Jesus has redeemed his lost sheep. Jesus has redeemed his lost sheep. Yes, December 25th, Jesus was born. Okay? The sun springs northward. March 21, 22, the sun, the S-U-N sun, is at 0 degrees in Aries, marking the end of the last year, the beginning of the first year. Aries sheep. Jesus has redeemed his sheep. The sun, the S-U-N sun, is the Redeemer. Jesus has redeemed his lost sheep. Jason has brought back the golden fleece. Here's the mythological history. And Job is reinvested with his skin. What skin? The golden fleece. Job, Jehovah, Hercules. And thus serves, y'all can read about that in the Devil's Pulpit. And thus serves without believing in anything supernatural, which no man in the use of his reason could possibly do. Intelligent people don't believe in fairy tales. That's what he just said. With perfect sincerity of heart. Okay, so you understand this science and you are sincere in knowing it. And with a far higher respect, this is the part I like, and with a far higher respect for the sacred text than was ever shown to it by Christians. So once you know this science, right, and you're sincere about it, oh, you respect the text. You respect the text because it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You have to look at our ancient ancestors and just say, wow, this is phenomenal. But the Christians don't do that. And I'm going to say all the Abrahamic religions, they're not doing that. They're out here teaching lies. Not only teaching lies, but most of them are doing it for greed and power and access to your pocketbook and your pants. For we have shown it the respect, we have shown the Gospels, etc., the respect of taking pains to understand it. Now, I know that's true because I know I have. I take pains to understand it. That means sit down and study. That means stop doing whatever it was you were doing or that you could be doing and learn and study. Whatever adjustments you need to make in your thinking, okay, accept it. Whatever people need to leave your life, accept it. For I have shown it, the Gospels, the respect of taking pains to understand it, the etymology, the philology, the astrology, the astronomy, the secular and mythological history. Say I, says the author, and not an intelligent infidel upon earth will hesitate to say with me, quote unquote, I know that my Redeemer liveth. I know that the sun will eternally go around the Maserat. We'll have the end of one year and the beginning of the new year. I know my Redeemer liveth. Y'all try, how long you think you'll live if the sun didn't come up? Would you make it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days? Absolutely not. So the sun literally is our risen Savior. I know that my Redeemer liveth. And at the latter day, that's quote unquote, of each concluding winter, at the latter day, at the last day of every winter, through eternal ages, quote unquote, he shall stand upon the earth. The sun shall stand upon the earth. Y'all ever look out at the horizon and you see the sun right at the horizon? So here's the horizon and you see the sun right there, 5:30, 5:45 a.m. in the morning. He shall stand upon the earth, and though after my skin, end quote, my starry golden fleece. Talking about Jason and the Argonauts. My starry golden fleece of that celestial sheep, quote unquote, he passeth on till worms destroyed this, end quote. That is, or which means, till the scorpions of October. Y'all remember that? The worm that does not die? Y'all remember that? The scorpions, I might do a follow-on video just reviewing the scorpions of October. It depends. That is, till the scorpions of October seem to have extinguished his vital heat. Right? Remember, Christ is being humiliated as he falls, as the sun falls. The sun is being humiliated, meaning in nature that the nights are becoming longer than the day. Okay? So let me do it again. And though after my skin, end quote, my starry golden fleece of that celestial sheep, that's Aries, quote unquote, he passeth on till worms destroy this. So the sun is going to go from Aries all the way where? From Aries, from the vernal equinox, spring equinox, all the way to what? It's going to go all the way through those 7 months that make up the kingdom of heaven. It's going to go to the scales, or to the balance scales, which is Libra, and then into October, Scorpio. That's what the author's talking about. All right? He's passing on. Doesn't stop. The sun will continuously go through the Mazzaroth. Doesn't stop. Okay? That's what he said. That is, which means, till the scorpions of October seem to have exhausted his vital heat. See, in October it's getting cold. So you know winter is about to come, and then November, boom, that's that adverse sign. Okay, y'all, that's what he's talking about. It's getting cold in October. Yet again and again, no sooner than the sun, sun, have passed through my fish, the zodiac sign Pisces, of February, then in my flesh, Aries, the mutton of March, quote, shall I see Gad, G-A-D, Gad, see the beginning of the new year. Gad is Aries. Gad is the first tribe of the tribes of Israel. And the tribes of Israel are the constellations. Whom I shall see for my soul. S-O-L. Soul is Latin for S-U-N. For my soul, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another. Y'all see that? Everybody's eyes will behold the same thing. Everybody's eyes are going to see the same thing. The only difference is I know what I'm looking at. I appreciate it. I took the pains to understand it. How about you, scholar? Are you undergoing the study required? Are you putting that work in? Or are you just sitting back in the religious doctrine? The face of nature is varied. Year will come, let me repeat that. The face of nature is varied. Year will continue to follow year through eternal ages. The sun will always, forever, ever, and ever, continue going through the Mazzaroth, traveling through the Mazzaroth, that old path, from the first zodiac sign to the 12th, and the new year begins when the old one ends. But the S-U-N sun and the S-U-N sun alone is eternally the same. Y'all got that? So the years change, the conditions on earth change, but that S-U-N sun never changes. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Thanks y'all for spending time with me. I hope you learned and enjoyed this lesson. I sincerely do. Thanks everyone. If you haven't supported my work, I invite you to consider supporting my work now. Now is a good time to show support. We just finished the Devil's Pulpit. So that's the last page. The end of the discourse on the Redeemer. The end of the discourse on the Redeemer. So next time we're going to have a new book. All right? Islam to all the Moors, Shalawama, and thanks everyone who has bought my books. Links to my books are in the description area of this video. Thanks everyone who has subscribed to the 101 Ancient Ibaryath course. And of course, everybody's welcome to come to the Zoom class that I teach every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, you can come for free. Make sure you read the description of the video. You can come for free and observe. If you want to enroll, there's a small tuition fee. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this class. I really enjoyed teaching this class, but we got to move on to the next one. All right, so I'll see y'all in 12, well, I don't know if it'll be 12 to 24 hours because I've got to decide which book to use. All right. Either way, I enjoyed it. Islam to all the Moors and Shalom.